Hey, Fitzy here, back at the game, another one. On this one, I gotta deal with this. There's a lot of rust on this, but I'm gonna use the Crown Vic metal. And this is what I come up with. Yeah, that's from the Crown Vic. It's a perfect fit for the F100. Stick around. And here we go. Early start this week. I come out here early this morning, cleaned the shop, got everything ready. This is going to be week 16. Let's see how much I can get done the week. I find that here lately, I'm just doing a little bit here and a little bit there. I want to get more done. I'm getting close. I'm at the stuff now. I'm just like, I've lost interest in it and I don't want to be at it, but I'm getting it done. And that's the simplest way to put that. Last video, we finished off this door over here. We got put patches up here, patch there, and put a complete bottom in the door. Got that done. Now, everything on the truck, on the main shell of the truck is completed. I got a little spot here I got to weld. Right there. Little spot there got to be welded up. And then I got to put seatbelt brackets in here. So that's what's left to do a bit of welding on the cab itself. To put seat belts in it. I'm not worried about that right now. I'm going to finish everything else first. What I'm into next now is this rad support. I got to do the rad support and the fender mounts. What I'm going to do, I'm going to haul the hood off here now and show you what I'm up against. So what I got here now is this rad support. I need to do a bunch of repairs to this rad support. I have to figure out these. I got stuff like this going on where the mount, the latch actually mounts onto. I got to dig that out, size that up. I have abundance of rust like this here. I'm not going to be able to find a rad support for this here locally, and shipping a new one here is going to cost me a royal fortune. And up on the top side here, I have sections here that are bad. Up along, I'm going to replace the sections in here and make some sort of new bolting setup, because over here, the bolts have been stripped out on these ones here, so I got to replace this here, and that's all rotted out underneath that there. I have inner fender wells that got to go into this. I have these braces that the fenders bolts onto. They mount right here on the front of this here, underneath this, and they also bolt on to the pieces that go up here. That's these sections right here. So this one here is pretty rugged. So this is going to be a bench-made unit. I'm going to repair what's there and just make something up out of it. And use just some heavy plate on that there. I got to find some pipe or something that I can weld on the inside of it. I don't need to have it just like that, but I'm just going to weld pipe one side to the other just to give it support so it won't crush. Those pieces bolt on here. So this panel here bolts on here. This is where the hinge bolts on, the hood hinge. This is all gone here. The bottom of the hinge section here is not even existent. The two top holes are there. So, and I'm not using none of this here. This here will be cut off here and then arched like this here for the inner fender wells belong to Crown Vic. These are the inner fender wells. Two of them are there. I want to incorporate these into them because I'm trying to retain the battery box, the ear box, all that type of stuff. There's the computer, all that bolts on all this stuff here. And I just want to retain it so I can actually, just when you pop the hood, it all looks neat and tidy. And it's a direct bolt-on type thing for the parts to go back onto the inner fender wells. So I want to incorporate these into the truck itself. I got a lot of work to do. I don't know how much of it I'm going to get done. I'm going to push through it. All the interesting stuff that I figure is that you could learn from or you may find interesting, I'm going to bring you back. A lot of this, especially this rad support, this is all you're going to see. When all this is put together, you won't see none of that down there. I'm not getting fussy with welding this up. I want to get this done. I'm going to be just cutting out a little bit of rust this there, and I'm going to scab a patch on over the top of it and make up an end piece over here, because there's absolutely nothing right there for the fender to mount to. All that's gone down through there. So I got to make all that up. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take this all apart and let the rad support go, take it off, lay it on the bench, and just start cleaning it up, and then weld up whatever I can weld up on it, and have that done before I get started on everything else going on. I'm going to do the rad support, And I'm going to do the 2 fender pieces here, and well, 2 pieces back there on the firewall. Something tells me I'm going to end up mounting them permanently on the truck, them pieces there, because I'm missing bolts over here where everything has changed. The bolts originally were right here on the firewall, right here and right here, for these 2 here. And so I only got 2 bolts here and I got nothing over here. So I may just weld them brackets right onto the truck and have it done and just have these pieces come off. That seems to probably be the most logical choice to do with this. So, but I'll cross that bridge when I get to it. Let's get this hauled off here now. I got it off here. And I got everything off, and you can see I got holes and spots where like, oh, I gotta fix that, I gotta fix that. But, oh, I'm not gonna get carried away with it. I'm just gonna take the grinder and I'll clean it all up. This bottom section here I'm gonna have to add to it. I have a valance to go across the front of it that bolts to this. Not gonna worry about that right now. I'm going to concentrate on getting all this section up here done, and then I can add to it later when I go to do the lower valance. Like, this is like the rustiest truck you're ever gonna come across, and I'm gonna repair everything. So be prepared for some crazy stuff. Well, look at the mess on the floor. Look, it's everywhere. What a mess. But I got this all sandblasted, and I went ahead then and I just grinded all the rust. I sandblasted all the rust off it, and then I turned around and I went and cut out anywhere I thought that I'm going to have to weld a piece in it. Now, some of it, what I went and done is I recalibrated the steel, and then what I done is I removed the rust and then installed speed holes. And so, like, if you look right here now, see these here? These are permanent structures in the vehicle now. They were rust holes, and I removed them and I put in speed holes. This here will lighten up the rad support. Boys, if he believes that. So I done that here, and also done it over here. I'm not going to do anything with that. I cleaned it all up. There's no more holes there. These here are just going to be permanent fixtures now, and I ain't going to worry about welding them up, because if they're rust in there, they're only going to rust back there again anyway. And this way now, I can probably spray something up there. You can't see them because they are basically hidden from a lot of the front, but when you're looking down at the front of it, that'll be fine. I cut a piece out of here, it was bad. Got over here and I started cutting this out and said, "Ooh, hang her down. Let's take one step at a time." I got a piece over on the bench I'm going to make up to go here. And then I'm going to make up this section here with this. And this is probably going to be a couple of pieces. And then I got to make a top up. Now, one thing I got to work on here is I got the mounting holes up here stripped out. So I got to make a new mounting plate for here. I got to make a new mounting plate for here as well. I have an idea for that. But what I'm going to concentrate on all this side here is the same way too. She's missing the last one here in the end. But there's 3 holes got to be put in them. And there's more speed holes there. That was rust. But this is basically what I got done here now. I'm just going to go ahead and start piecing stuff in, welding. I'm not getting carried away with it. I'm just going to weld pieces over the top of this. Now I'll go on the back side and I'll weld it on the inside. So you'll see welding on both sides. I'm not worried about it. I don't even think I'm going to bother fill this. There'll be nothing filled on this. It'll be grinded off and painted right over all the welding and everything like that, because, you know, how fancy I want to be. And a lot of this is all out of sight, out of mind. I just want it strong. That's the key here, is to make this nice and strong and have it so that it will last a couple of years, few years. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead now and get some pieces made up. 5 hours I got into this. I never stopped. I had a break for lunch, so never counted that. And I just dug into this, and I wanted to get it done. I'm pleased the way everything came out. I had a lot of things that I had going on that I was like, what am I going to do here? What am I going to do here? What am I going to do here? And I was thinking about it the last couple of days because I knew this rad support was coming. But I had to replace all this section up here with the nuts and all. I just got a plating system in there, and I got nuts welded on the back, the same thread as the ones belong to the truck. And I had to basically build the inner section and then make the outer section over the top of that again, so it looked original with the spot welds and everything in it. And then you could bolt the fender and the rad support sections onto it. This was the side there was nothing left to. All this was gone. This section was down here, like so. That's where that was to. All that was gone down there. This was the upper corner here. That was right here. That was right there. I ended up making all that. I'll show you the back side of it in a minute. Making all that up. I had to make all this up in here. Some stuff I butt welded. I bought welded, and then some stuff I just done a lap weld on it because it had, like right here, this has to go up against the fender. So I wanted to have that just so. In here, it didn't matter because there's nothing in here. What I'm looking at this here now, and there's nothing bolts onto this other than there's a hole right here that a bracket goes on for the upper crossbar there. The grill don't bolt onto this nowhere. It bolts onto the fenders here and that upper section. It bolts onto. And I think, and then it bolts on, might bolt onto the bottom, down here somewhere. I don't know, but all that's gone. I got to build it anyway. So I haven't got to worry about none of that. All I had to be concerned about was these holes. These bolts here are for the older and the fender welds. I wasn't getting into it. Let's see. Oh yes, there was a hole here. I did a nice job on that one there. There was a hole basically right there. And I just cut it all out, welded a piece in it. Over on this side here was much the same. This side here was the bad side as well. Both sides. This is the piece here that was welded in it before. That went somehow like that, I think. That's the way that went there. And I just cut it all out of it. That was a piece that was welded in it before. And I just said, nope, remove it all. This is one of the upper sections here that I was talking about. That goes this way here. That went here. And you can see there's like an overlap panel. There's an intersection to it. I cut it off, made the intersection first. I went and put nuts in here, welded nuts on in them places there, and I made it all up from scratch. I cut each side out and welded it all up. I had a hole here, and of course that piece there. I think that's pretty well it for this side here. This is the piece that was on this side here. That's all I was left to it. You can see here now, the way I made all these up. I made the inner structure. Now this one in here, this had a bad spot here. I had to weld a piece in it there. But I want to retain these here because the front pieces bolts on here and on the top side here. This is the side here. Bolts on up here and bolts on right here. So I wanted to keep that there. But this is the inner structure you can see of everything of the inner piece there. All this is, there's only one little strip here. Now I could have replaced it, but I was using that as a guideline so I get my outside edges and I get the plane on the angles and stuff like that to make it up. But I made up this entire piece here, and I made that all up in one piece, look. The entire corner. All I did is I clamped it in a vise, and I beat it around the corner here. I stuck it off a little bit here, and a little bit on this side here, and then just start beating it around the corner like that. So that actually, I hadn't actually had a rolled edge on the corner. And then I just cut off the excess metal that was left over. But yeah, and there's a piece put in there, and there's the inside corner. In the inside here, I never got too fussy with grind welds off. What else can be done? Over here is the inner piece there that I put in there. Another one up inside there. And that was pretty. This side here was good. I ended up just going ahead and taking the grinder to it all and stripping it. I still got to do something with this here. Someone had nuts and bolts put in through here for the actual rad support. Right here. I got to put bolt nuts in there as well. I'm going to leave that alone now because I still got to make a place for it to mount on the bottom. But I got this set up now that this can be bolted on and I can start modifying everything else. Because these outer edges is what my major problem was. I had no way to bolt them on permanently because of the way all this was done. And I like to be able to go over there now and be able to bolt them onto the truck and have them so that I can actually tighten everything up and just say, okay, this is where this goes. So I'm going to go ahead now and take this piece and bolt it back on the truck. It don't seem like much, but I can tell you that's a big accomplishment there today. I got it fully bolted on here now. The fenders are bolted onto the rad support here. They're bolted onto the rad support here. The fender's bolted on. It's bolted on right here. The upper section. Same one over here. And this is the side I had nothing to bolt onto. Now I got the fenders actually bolted on over here. And and that is extremely solid there now. I still haven't decided how I'm going to mount it. I just have a bolt put in for now. Right there. I would like to put some sort of rad support in it and probably put a bushing or something on it just to give it a bit of what you call movement. Because it is a truck and it is bolted to the frame, but I have the rad support solid mounted down to that. And I got to figure out a few things. The radiator and a bumper. How I'm going to weld to this here to run it, to run a bracket to go down underneath it to run out to a bumper. I got to figure that out. So all that is going to be incorporated into each other. Something tells me the bumper's going to be coming off the side here, and the bumper bracket's going to be here somewhere. And I'm going to have to put something here, but I got to make sure that it doesn't interfere with anything over in this corner. There's a lot of things I got to think about when it comes to that, but I'm pleased with it. I got that straightened away. Now I got to go back here and start working on these pieces here that bolt up here, so then I can start working on these pieces that go from here to here. That's the next dilemma we're into here now. So here's what we got to tackle today. I'm going to cut these up. I'm going to cut them right along here and remove all this. I don't need it. And just use these pieces here. Now, the more I look at it, I'm seriously thinking about making these from scratch. I got to measure them up to see if I can do it or not. And the biggest problem I got is making two of these bends here because they're so close together. I don't know if my bender can make that. But it's only slight metal. There's nothing elaborate about this here. It's not a heavy gauge steel. It's only 20 gauge steel. It's just the way it's all bent up. And the hood hinges mounts onto this as well. Now, there's so much rust on this that trying to patch it all up, I don't know if it's worth even attempting to do it. But what I'm going to do here first is I'm going to cut these up and size things up and just get a piece cut out of the way there so I can get rid of these two sections here because I don't need them. These here are the other parts. I already talked about these here. I got to figure out what I'm going to do with these here. Something tells me I'm going to end up welding these on to the truck itself permanently. And they're going to be permanently on the truck. And then the inner fender welds are bolted this here because I'm missing everything on this side here. I only got 2 bolts here, or 1 bolt I think it is. 2 bolts right here. And then everything over here is missing. And this one here I got trimmed up to fit already, and it'll actually bolt on. But I might end up just welding it on down through here anyway. Put the bolts in it and say, yeah, it's bolted on, but welded on as well. Just to say it's there. Anyway, I'm going to get this cut up here now and start making plans. So I went and cut the best part of these off and threw them away. That makes sense, doesn't it? The more I look at this, the more I figure I think I'm going to make a set of these. It's pretty simple. It's only slight metal. It's not heavy steel. On the inside here, there's a heavy plate for the hinge to mount to. I'm going to make a new one of them because they are shot as well. And it just seems like it's just a couple of 1, 2, 3, 4 bends. These two here are going to be tricky to bend. Well, this one here won't be. This one here will be. But the rest of them should be fine. Quite possibly. I don't know. I got to figure out which way to start from. But what I'm going to use for these here is I'm going to use the door skins off the Crown Vic to make these. I have 1 door skin left. So I'm going to have to go on a hunt for a door skin. Have a parts car. Yeah! Anyway, I turn around now and I got these here figured out what my plan is for these. But before I get started on these, I want to come over here and tackle this and get that done over with. I'm just going to plate these up. Top seems solid. It's just the sides. So much of the sides got to be done. And I'm going to just find a bit of heavy plate there now, weld onto here. And then I'll trim all this up after the fact. I'll mark it out. I'll do a cut to fit on these here. And I'll have it so that when I cut this out, I can use this as my template. And the same as this one over here. But the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the grinder to them and just clean them up. This one here is fine. This don't need much. I'll run the grinder over this as well. So I don't think I need to do much with that one there. The other one is the one that needs all the work done is on this one here. So I'll get these cleaned up. So I got them cleaned up. I sandblasted them again. And that's as good as that's getting. And then the top side here, the hole in the top right here. And it's a little bit thicker than 14 gauge. But it's thinner than 1/8. And this one here is cleaned up as best as I can. I've kept it all together because I want to cut it out and use them as templates. So what I've been doing, I got some 14 gauge here, it's a nice heavy plate, and it's recycled metal. It's a cabinet of some sort of an electrical panel, and I'm going to turn around. I just took that there now and I scribed that out there. I'm going to cut that piece out of there now, clean it up, and weld that in the top of that there. So, and I'll just repeat the same process for the sides of this here. I'll end up cutting the sides off of this and using this as my template. The biggest thing is I want to make sure I get these 3 holes in the right place. Look at that, perfect fit every time. I'll get that welded in there now. And I got that all welded in. I'm over here now and I just cut the side out of the other one. And I got it here using this template. I got it laid on here like so. I needed to make sure I had enough clearances up here in the front because I compared it to this one here. And so I had to put an angle. I was trying to use that straight edge, but it's not going to work, so I had to tip it back a bit. But I got it all scribed out there now, and I'm going to scribe that out and use this as my go-to, and then I'm going to mark these holes and drill them out, have that done. So I got the piece cut out, trimmed up, then I clamped the top one on it, and I got these punches here that got different sizes, and that fits right into the hole perfectly, and then I just punched it. So now I got my 3 points, and all I'll do is I'll drill the 3 of them out, and then that place there will be ready to go. I'll just clean it up then. Here we have it, all made up. The key here is this edge here, this one here, and this one here. I want to fit flush. That's this edge right here and this here. So when I take this up in place here now, and when I go to put it in place, this is the way this will go, like so. That's the way that came off. I'll turn this around this way here, and that'll go that way there. And that'll line up there, and I'll weld that right on. And them holes should be pretty well where they should be. I had a bit of trouble here. My step bit, this one here was too big, that one there was too small. But this bit here, it had the right size right here that I needed for the hole, but the tip has gone off of this one here, so I had to use 2 step bits in order to get the right size holes. Now they don't have to be crucial or nothing like that, it's just a bolt going in through there. I got to pick up bolts for them as well. But yeah, I got that ready there now. I can lay that place there now and weld that right on. Myself right here, I turn around, I welded the other side on, so I got 2 sides welded on, that one and that one there. Then I turn around and replaced the back of it as well. I put a piece in there. Now what I'm at here now, ahead of myself, is these here had like a sleeve in them. I found this piece of pipe over in my collection, the old galvanized piece of pipe. I had to clean all the galvanized off it, and I cut out sleeves. All I'm doing is I got to put in between there, and I got bolts hauled tight, and I'm welding around like that to get it all welded together. I got these 3 here, these 2 here now I got to put in there. I get 2 of them put in there, and that piece will be done. I'll have 2 braces then. And then I'll go ahead now, get them welded in. And don't that look lovely? All the sleeves are in there. I'm not going to bother to put the plating in there, no need that. All this is a crush sleeve to keep it from crushing. But I got that one done, still hot. So I'm about to rebuilding that one from scratch. Almost every bit of that's been replaced. But now they're ready to install on the truck. I think I'm going to end up bolting 2 bolts on and weld them on the other side, because a lot of it's going to be missing. One I'll get 3 on, this one here I'll get 3 of them on, but still I think I'm going to weld it down here just for the sake of it. I don't think that I'm ever going to take them off again. So I got this one here bolted on. Now I'm not sure if I got it in the right location or not. It may have to go down a small bit, so that means I may have to trim this off. So what I'm going to do for now is I'm not going to weld nothing on until I got this all put on. Everything's bolted up, and I can say, okay, that's where that's got to go. And then if I want to weld them on, I can. This side here I can get away with, I think, with just the 3 bolts. The other side is another thing altogether. On this side here, You can see the 2 bolts are here and the inside ones are gone. This is where this has to go, like so. So I'm just going to go ahead, I'm going to cut the entire side off of this one here, get it out of the way so I can just slide in there and trim it up so I can actually bolt it on there. And then I'll size up what way I'm going to put this together. So I got it all trimmed up. You can see how tight that is over here. It's really tight down on the inside here. I can access it from the back side in here. I can go in through here, so I can probably, if I wanted to, put a tab this way on the back side and put a bolt straight in through here somewhere, and then weld a nut on the back side here and do it that way. I could possibly do that. 3 bolts to hold it in place, because I think the other side is fine like it is. I won't have to weld them on. I like to be able to take them off, see? So I may have to modify that in there, but for now I'm going to leave it there because I want to get these sections here made next. So I got them figured out. I'm not going to do nothing else with them right now. I'm going to leave them alone now because I may have to move them around. But what I got to do next is I got to fit the outer pieces on and get them working and figure out what I'm going to do with the actual apron section right here. As you can see, I haven't got much left of these. These are pretty rough. Like the hinge section is bad, and the intersection here is bad. The nose up front is bad. This side of one over here is really bad, right? And the top is really bad on this one here. So I've been sizing them all up, and they're only made out of slate metal. There's nothing elaborate about these here. It only seems to be about 20 gauge anyway. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to try my hand at making one of these now and see what it comes out like before I even do anything with these. And if I can make them, I'm going to make 2. So let's get out the door skin there now and start sizing that up and see if I got enough metal to make this all in one piece. So here's the plan. I have 1 door skin left, and I'm hoping that I can get everything I need off of this. I want to have this here so I can make it out of 1 piece and then just bend all the bends that I got to bend on it, and that way it'll be all nice and neat and tidy. I won't have to do no welding or nothing like that. So I'm going to sit down now and take up this one here, take some measurements, overall length, and measure up along here, find out how big the piece got to be, and start drawing it out on this and see what I can come up with. Well, the overall length should be fine. I have a lip here. Okay, comes over, and then there's a lip in here, lip in here. This sticks out a bit here on this end here. I can see all this here can be bent after, and then there's this here. This is the one I'm going to start up here. This will be my longest point, up along here, across here, down here, across here, and down here. I got to give myself some extra on the ends inside here, so I got lots of lip in here. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to take this measurement here now, and the overall length, and I'm going to turn around and measure it out from probably this belt line up, and then measure it up to, hopefully I can fit it underneath the door handle here, and just cut out a large section of this here, and then clean it all off. I'll get the paint off first, and then I'm going to start figuring out my bends. The best thing you could ever use for measuring this stuff up. Careful about right here, come across. Down here, down here, come down. I'm going to say 18 inches will give us plenty. So where's 18 inches from here? 18 inches. It's not going to work to there. So this tells me I got to do the other side first. Because of the way it's shaped. I could probably get away with it because up on this end here is less, see? Because of the way it's this angle here is big, but this is the long length here, which is going to be on that end of the door. So this door here is going to have to do the other side, so I'd change it around. Do it this way. Can you see my madness here? If I measure from here up to here, 18 to there. So I gotta take it from that lip there. So I'll take all that. Alright, entire door skin there, 18. On this end here I need about 12 inches, which is more than enough here, see? And that'll pass through that. That'll come back this way on an angle, so I think I have enough. I'm going to draw it out there now, and I'm just going to leave the door screen like it is, the overall length. So I took some measurements, and this is the piece of metal I'm going to start with. You can see it here now, this is all bigger than I need it to be. A little tiny bit. I can go with as big as I could because I'm cutting it over here. The thing with it is I need to start from one end on the straight edge, and when it comes over a few bends, then it goes on an angle. When it goes on an angle, that's the reason why I gotta use this end here, because I need the full length of this back here to bend up the back section, but up here in the front, it gets narrower because the way one section of it will actually, you can see it right here, this section here goes up to a point. So like the distance up across here is a lot shorter than it is when you come down around the back here. So I'm gonna go ahead now and get this cut out. So I got that all trimmed up, cut out. Amazing panels though. Like if you're ever building anything, see the crown on the panel, look. It's got a real nice crown on it. Now I'm gonna bend it all up, that'll just give it strength. I don't mind that. I think I'm gonna leave this little roll lip on it. A little custom feature on the inside maybe, I don't know. I'm not going to worry about it right now because that's going to be on this side over here. That's going to be down right here, that roll lip is. So I'll decide what I'm going to do with that. I may have to trim some of it off anyway when I go to the actual wheel, the wheel well in it. But what I'm going to do here now, because I got a lot of bending to do. When I start bending this paint's all going to crack up and it's just going to make a mess of everything. I'm going to go ahead and strip all this paint off of this. I made short order of that, a couple of minutes, 3-4 minutes I'd say I was at that. I strip everything with a 24 grit pad. It's very aggressive, okay? It leaves marks and everything in your metal. That don't bother me. Everything I has to do, I has to fill and prime and everything anyway. I'm not doing a pristine restoration here. I've been doing it this way over 30 years, and this is what I like. Fellas uses 36, other fellas uses flap discs, and they use the stripping wheels and stuff like that. I got them here, but I don't know, I just keeps going back to tried and true. To me, everything has to be done in a timely manner. And when it comes to low budget work like this, you got to cut corners, and usually it's in labor rate. And usually you got to find fast ways of doing things. That's the way it was when I was in the trade. No matter how good you were, you still had to be fast. So I got that all stripped off there now. I'm going to start putting this in here now, start making some measurements. I'm going to draw outlines on this now to where I think each bend is going to be. And then I'm going to put little cuts where all the bends are going to be too. That way I'll know where all my bends do. Because when I keep flipping this over and flipping it back, I'll have spots where I can actually go by. Well, I got it all marked out. I wanted to have a visual on it to see where it was to, make sure I was going to clear over here, and it's going to work. You can see it there now the way this works. Over here, this is the outside piece here. Now, the way I got this done, I measured from here. So there's going to be an abundance of this here. I'm going to have to cut off after the fact, but I'm taking the distance from here forward is what I'm measuring off of, and same with down here. And then I got to trim off all this down here to make it work on the truck. But I measured this one here, that's this section here, and then I measured across the top here, that's this one here. Now this one here gets tricky because when you flip this on the side, this one here goes from here all the way and it ends right here. So I took that measurement right to here, and that's where the bend ends, which is right here. That's where I got it. What's it called? Now I want to leave tabs on it, so I got still extras. There's lots of material here on this here to actually bend up these tabs that I'm going to have left on it there now. Then from there, this one goes straight out. This is parallel to the actual that bend there, which is this one here. And that goes parallel. Then there's a little lip that I got right here, which is this one here. Now I'm not going to cut none of this off yet because I don't know how it's going to fit in the brake. I'm here like sizing it all up. This one here is going to be trouble. I know that for a fact. I'm going to get one, and the other one I'm only going to get it so far because it's got to close in on itself like this here. And you can see this in the brake now. This will be clamped in the brake here. So I'm not going to be able to get this bend as easy. So I'm playing around with the idea of possibly just bending it so far and then manually bending the rest. I don't know if I should do it to this one or this one first. I'm trying to decide whether I should start from this end and work my way this way, and then have this the hardest bend is this one here, and just have to straighten that one up in the actual on the bench using the I-beam. So I'm going to play around now and try to make a game plan here, size up what way all my bends are going to go. And then I'm just going to go over, I'm going to go here now, and I'm going to take a grinding wheel and mark all these on the end. That's what I'm going to do, is mark all them right there. I'm going to make these ones here a little bit long because they cross over down there. The bends do, and they will cross over here. There'll be a kink right here. But they'll cross over here and here. But I want to have this one here line up with the long, so I'll probably put a deeper cut in here and only use shallow cuts on these ones. So then I'll know the deeper cut will be for this angle bend here. I'll get them done and show you. So here's what I got done. I took the zip blade and I cut in on all the spots. These ones here I made longer because this is the angle one. And there's one here, and then there's the very corner itself. But the reason for that is I'm going to have to be flipping this upside down and bending it a couple of different ways. But when you flip it over now, you can actually see where the actual, where do you do? There you go. You can actually see where the marks are too, where I got them cut on both ends down here. I'm looking at these backwards, see? There you go, there's the other one there. And then when you get to come down this end here, you can see there's the first one. Now there's the angle one there because it's the longer of the two. There's two there. This is the longer one, so that's the angle one that goes up on an angle. And I'll line that up with the other one. Then there's a shorter one here, another one here. That's the bottom side of it that goes on an angle that way. So that's the purpose behind that. Now I'm just going to sit down now and make a game plan for bending this up. Well, here goes nothing. No matter what way I does it, it's going to have issues. So I'm just going to take it on one at a time. There. There. He's moving away. Once I get this one bent, I can probably cut the bottom off. It's in my way. But for now, I'm going to leave it alone. See if I can get it. It's the first bend. I think I'm going to cut that off first, along here, because it's going to interfere when it starts lifting up. That's what I'll do too. I got that bend put in and I'm all right now. I'll go cut that off and I'll be right back. So I cut the lip off it. Now I'm just left with that much of it. I'm here thinking about when I bend this one. That got to bend up, that one got to bend down. Yeah, it might work. Might work. Right. next one's not going to work. The next one's not going to work. Because I got to bend through that bend there. Going this way here. That would bend there, and then this one will come down. Go past that. I'm going to have to split this and get it opened. We'll cut it back so I can push this into the point here that's up here. So here's my dilemma. I got a bend in it now, as you can see. But this next bend here has got a bend to here, this point here. But when I puts it in the brake, it's only going to go in as far as here, and that's going to be about right here somewhere. So what I got to do is I got to split this through here and bend this section back so I can actually push this in flush at this point here. So then I know exactly where the point is that I got to make this bend here. What's going to end up happening then is I'm probably going to have to do some welding here, because what's going to end up happening, what I'm doing here now, is I'm splitting this up through here. That's what I'm doing there now, which is through that tab, which is no big deal, right? I think it'd be a lot easier for me to do it that way than it is to try and any other way, because I need to get this in, the brake into here. Right now, in order for, when I put the brake into here, this will start going this way here, and it won't be lining up very good. It'll probably be about here somewhere, I'd say. This is where the bend will be, and I gotta get the bend all the way in here. So I'm gonna take the zip blade now and cut that off. This is all I did. I cut it back to the line. I come up here and I put a little cut net ready for that, bent that over. I can weld it up again later. It's only metal, you can weld it up. Now I can push my brake all the way into here, because the line now, if you look at this here, it'll pass right through here and come out this way. And then I should be able to put that bend in it. Now, there we go. There we go. Now this last one, I'll probably only get so far. Moving on me. Good to know. Should be able to get the rest of that. See what I mean? It can only get so much of the bend in it. Now I got to work on getting the rest of that bend in it. But yeah, I can make them. This is all I got. I got my old trusty bit of I-beam. There's always underneath the bench there. I just use it for bending steel, and that's all I got it for situations like this. I got a piece of square stock there now that wasn't quite long enough, but I managed to make it work. And I got that clamped onto the I-beam, and the I-beam is clamped to the bench. And all I'm going to do then is just twist that back that way there and just manhandle it all till I get it in place. It had to be perfect. You can always tweak it on its own. Well, I did it. I made it. It still needs to be fine-tuned. There's a bit of a crown here. I don't mind that so much. The overall shape is there. What I got to start doing now is I got to start trimming it all up, so it actually starts fitting on the actual truck itself. I'm going to start back here, trim all this stuff up here, and then I'm going to work to the front, and then start removing a lot of the front off of this, because some of it's just tabs. As you can see, there's a tab here. I got to bend that over, and there's a tab here that remains flat, which goes through the middle of this here. So I may have to rework this, just re-weld that again. That's all, but that's only minor. This here do turn in here on the front here. I don't think it really matters. No, maybe not. It might come in on the fender. I'll size it up good. Well, there's the edge of the fender there, so that comes down here. Yeah, it really don't matter. I could probably keep that straight anyway. There's no reason for that to turn inside there. So I'm not going to worry about bending this lip on it here. I'm just going to cut it off across the front, leave this tab on it, and then work on putting this tab on it. The key is to get the length from here back to there the same. So I'm going to go ahead now and start marking this out, trimming this up right here. So I got the back trimmed off here. I end up squaring this off here. And then this here went on a 90 degrees from this here, so it's on an angle this way. And that's how I got it set up, so it's on the same angle as this here. And then I cut it straight across here. And then I followed the angle down from this side here over to here. I left this a little bit long here, because this one here got a curvature on it. I might be able to round it out, but I just got it left like that for now to see if it'll clear. Up here in front, I've after taking a bunch of measurements here. And you can see all this here has to be cut off. This is that tab that I was talking about. I have to weld it here in the middle. And then there's another tab here. These are going to be folded. This one here is going to be folded here. That one here is going to be left alone. And all this here is removed. So I'm going to go ahead now and trim all this out of the way. I got this all trimmed off. This is on an angle as well. I forgot to point that out. This don't go 90 degrees down. It's an inch out. And when you put it on a 90 degrees here, from here out is an inch. And then it goes up on an angle this way. That's how I figured that one out. You can see where I trimmed this off. I'm going to have to weld this up. Got over here and I realized there's the cut I made earlier. And this is the bend here that I was talking about right here. So I think I'm going to put it in it anyway, because this is the line here got to follow. And I can cut most of this off out of the way and just fold it in over the edge there. I might trim it off, cut it down through here, and just fold it over. And then I could just turn around and weld this spot here. I'm going to have to weld the spot anyway, so I'll just assume do it that way. So that's what I'll end up doing there. Now I'll get that piece made. Nothing elaborate here. Just a piece of angle iron, clamp down the line up here. I'll just bend that over now with the hammer, and then I can trim off whatever I don't need. There you go. Just a simple little bend over. Then I trimmed it up. Everything's fine. I'm there now. Got the angle iron set up. Again, going to bend over that tab there. Same process. And there you have it. Got that all bent over there now. And I'm over here now sizing everything up. Just comparing the two of them. What I got to do next is I got to go up there now and I got to bolt it on or fit it in place. Start sizing up where all the holes and everything are too. I've been playing with this one earlier and it seems like I got to take the fender off in order to get this panel on. So I'll play around with that, see if I can get it put in position. But I'm pleased with that. I got to mark it out here now because this here has to be pulled up on the side here. You can see now right here, this has to be pushed up for the fender and for the fenders to bolt on there. I got this clamped in here because this here is opened up and pulls this out this way. So I got to pull it back before it puts the hole in it. And of course, we're going to have to mark where they go there. But yeah, very pleased with that. Up here now, you can see I got to weld that up there. And then I can drill the two holes there, and then that there can bolt right on top of that there. The other panel goes over the top of that, I'm pretty sure. I can probably just turn around now and put that in place there now and mark that, because the holes are going to be where they're going to be. Back here in the back, I might put a reinforcement back here, because the hinge bolts on right here, and before it relied on the entire inner fender. And I'm planning on putting the wheel wells in the Crown Vic in this as well. So a lot of this here has got to be cut out of it, right along here, because of the clearances. I got to figure all that out next, and I might just do one side at a time and have it done, and then I can figure out the other side. I should be able to know what I'm at then when it gets this side done. But yeah, I'm glad I did make them. It's a lot easier. I got to do a reinforcement plate in there, and I'm trying to find some way to tie it to the firewall. And have it so that when I put the hinges on, it bolts it all tight. But then again, it's got lots of strength there for the actual hood itself. And so I'll design something for that. It's a heavy plating system. Got to go in with bolts on it, so there's no big issue. And I got to mark these out here. They're no big issue. So I got to figure out how I'm going to put the clips on them. I might just cut the end out of them and slide them in this way. I don't know. Usually just a square hole in them. Yeah. So I'm going to figure this out here now and make a game plan. And I think what I'm going to size up next is, I got that made. I think I'm going to size up the inner fender well just to get an idea of where this is to in reference to this here that's going to be cut somehow like that. Because I got to find a way to mount the inner fender well to this here. That's something else I got to do because there's one mount down there. And I think she might be able to bolt on up here somewhere, depending on what side, because one side just goes straight down. I'm not quite sure which side goes down. And I just got to figure out some way of mounting the front of the wheel well, the back of the wheel well, and then them two bolts up top. That it should be fine. Yep. Very pleased with that. Been here now last half hour playing around trying to position this. And it's in the factory location in the back. There's a bracket there that a button goes in, one of them fuzzy nails. I got that one of them putting that. And I'm just trying to figure out the height, how far forward, this way, that way. And I've been using the other Crown Vic that I have out there, and I've been looking at the inner fender one that, trying to get a ballpark idea. I had to cut the outer lip off it here, off the Crown Vic, and I had to cut the upper lip here off it. And I've just got to clamp to the rad support right now. I'm just playing around with the idea to see what's involved with now, how much of this I got to cut out. It seems like there's going to be a lot of it cut out when it's all said and done. So I got to size all this up because I want to have it so that the actual steel goes right along here And so this just goes into that and ends. And what I'm going to do then is up on the bottom side of that brace, I'm going to weld tabs, and I'm going to be able to screw it on here and here like that. I only need 2 tabs because that's the way it was originally. And I got to find some way to mount it up here. Just wants a couple of mounting points for these inner fender wells because that's the way they were. She had a couple of bolts up here. And then she had a bolt here and a bolt back here, and that was it. There was nothing else on it. She was just clipped into the outer wheel well. So that's something I got to think about now, size up. I'm going to have to take the fender off to do this because there's no way I can put the panel on and off while I'm trimming it up in here, because all this here got to be cut out, right? I got the center marked right here. This here was the actual center of the strut or shock or whatever it is, this thing here. That was the center line of that. So something tells me this is going to be cut something similar to, yeah, this is going to be cut something like this now, I'd say. That's the way that's going to be cut. Because I've seen them cut before, but I got this thing channeled a lot more than most guys got them channeled. So anyway, that's it. I think that's going to be enough for me for today. I got to do some thinking on this here now. I do stuff like this. I just mock it together, and then I can see how it all lays in place and the heights and stuff like that. And I just go away and I think about it for a bit. And then I'll come out tomorrow with a game plan, and I'll tear right into this. Well, it's a new day. I got the garage quick clean up here this morning, and I removed the inner fender well out of it. The more I thought about it, I said to myself, well, the first thing I'm going to have to get done is I'm going to have to get this fully mounted. I got to get the holes drilled in this here. All the mounting bolts for here. The mounting bolts are up here, because it'd be nice to be able to bolt that in place and tighten it up where it has to be, because I had to cut the inside out of it, and if it's just floating in there and it's not fully tightened down, you're not going to get a good reading. So I'm going to go ahead and work on getting this one here mounted. I'm over here now, and I got the system here. I got to cut these out here and weld this up here. I'm going to get that done. I got to reinstall this here and mount it where I want it to go, and I got to mark some holes and start bolting this together. I got to find a way that I can drill the holes up here, so I can actually mark the holes, so I can actually drill them, so I can actually bolt that together up there, and that way I can clamp this up and start drilling holes here. For now, I'm probably just going to put nuts and bolts in this for now, just to tighten it up. But I want to get it bolted along here, bolted on here, bolted here, and bolted back here. Once that's done, then I knows where that's exactly going to be too. So I'm over here now. What I did before I took this off is I marked this here. I marked it out here where the center of the holes were to, and I marked it right here where the center of the holes were to. And then I just come up. I'm going to put larger holes here, so there's going to be lots of room there for it to, because this only sandwiches between the top panel that goes over top of this here and that. And down here I went and marked it. There's a hole right here for mounting hole that actually I marked in through there. And I got that marked. I want to bolt this whole front section on first before I done anything with the back. But so I'm going to take this off now and drill out all these holes. I have to make another one right here, which I'm going to have to measure up after I drill this one, up to this one here. There's a clip got to go in there, and then a bolt goes in through that way there. So I'll get this all done here now. So I got it bolted down here, and then I got it bolted down in here under the rad support. The bottom bolt's here. The other one is hit up inside here. There's a bolt right here that goes in through. So I got 4 bolts bolting onto that. I come back here and I clamped it on, and I tapped it down. Then I took a black marker and I marked it all the way around. I'm going to use that black marker now to give me reference points to come forward off of the brace in order I can drill the holes. And here's 3 holes I got drilled in here on both sides. So I'm going to take this apart again now and figure out them holes. Who else has bins like this? These are all my big bolt, long bolts. Yeah, okay. But I managed to find 6, so now I just gotta find nuts for them. Anyway, get this cleaned up and start looking for the nuts. Looky here, I found a bunch of nuts and I found some washers. Yep, I got a large bolt bin as well. I built that a few years ago. Anyway, I got me bolts and everything here now. Let's start putting this together. So I got that bolted on here, and I got a pair of vice grips now pushing up on this, because when this here is tipped down a small bit. Now, because all this is pulled in tight, I can mark all these here now. I'm going to drill them right where they're at, so I can put a couple of nuts and bolts in them to tighten it all up solid. I couldn't drill these earlier because I needed this pulled in tight here. I needed this bolted down tight here. I needed it bolted down tight here, so it had to be pulled forward here and drawn in here. So now that I got all that done, I can drill these. So I got them all drilled out, and I got the original style bolt put out with a nut on the bottom. What I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to end up welding a nut on the bottom side, so it's permanently there, and I just screw it into it. I don't like nuts and bolts on a lot of stuff. I just assume have it. There used to be speed clips on this here. I'm not going to fool around with that. This here is good enough for me. Now that I got all this done, this is permanently mounted. This is where home is going to be. Now, the thing I'm looking at here now, the next thing I got to figure out is the hinges. The hinge mounts right here. If you look at this one over here, you can see the way the hinge used to mount. Hinge used to mount here on an angle. The back bolt is completely gone. And then the two front ones are here. Now, this here, for me to get this right precise in place, I'm going to have large holes here. And then so I can move this around, so I can actually make sure I can get the hood closing properly. But I'm going to ballpark it. What I got to do is, if you look on the inside here, there's a plating system that they got done. And then it goes up on the top side here and takes in the top. So there's a heavier plate that got here, and they got nuts welded on the back of it. Now, I may have to trim a lot of this out of the way. But what I'm going to do is, back here it ends. I have a lot of room. I'm going to take this plating system and take in these 3 back bolts so that the hinge strength comes from these 3 bolts, and that doesn't just float on this piece of steel. I have enough room over here to continue on back. When I let this go, this puffs out a bit, so I can put a piece of plating back through there. So when I tightens it down, it'll give all strength to this area here. So what I'm going to do now is figure out, I got the hinges taken out. I'm going to size them up, take them apart, and figure out, take some measurements and start figure out a couple of holes there. I'm just going to mock it up there for now so I can get an idea where it could be. The problem with hinges are they got to go up or down, back and forth. Seems to be a lot of adjustment on them, so I might be able to get away with just fudging it in there where it got to go. I'll take some measurements from the top bolt over to the top bolt, you know, and do this type of thing and measure from the top here down. And that's how I'll get my measurements for each 3 holes. And these are the hinges here. There's the 3 holes there. There's a lot of up and down adjustment, but there's no forward and back. So if I mount it in the truck too far forward, I'm going to have to slot the actual nut. So my plan is, I'm going to drill the holes, put the plating system in place, drill the hole, and if I got to move the hinge back, I'll slot it. And then when the hinge is where I think is good, then I can just, you know, I haven't got to move it back no further or move it forward no further. I'll leave the hinge bolted on, take it off, and weld the nuts on the back side, so that way I'll know where it's to. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to haul a spring off of these, because it's going to be a lot easier. I got to find out how much swing I got in this here. I'm wondering if this here is going to interfere with the inner fender wells when they're put in. So I got to have them so I can actually swing them. So I'm going to take these apart now and make sure these are all freed up, because I'm going to say they're probably C solid. Got spring removed. Look. C solid. So I got to start pounding all these now and free this up. I'll go get this freed up. It took a bit of persuading, but I got it. So I'm moving there. I had to clamp a piece of angle iron onto it, a couple pairs of vice grips up here, and then just slowly moved it back and forth like that, and then eventually just started to go like that for me. And now it's this kind there now. I got some of these got to be tightened up. Some of these are pretty loose. Look at that there. You can see that there. They're just a rivet, and they're cold rivets, and they're hammered from the other side. All you got to tighten them up now is hammer them on the other side. But for now, that's good enough. This is the hinge that I need for this side, so I get this cleaned up now, and we can start sizing things up. So I got to take it out again, and I went over and I took a whole bunch of measurements from these points here, because these bolt holes are in the same location on both panels. And I just took a bunch of measurements. I measured from the top of the rail down, the angle that it was on, how much the plate right here was stuck up, and took a whole bunch of measurements. And I got these 3 holes here now, which are in the vicinity. I'm not going to say they're right on, because I know for a fact when it goes time to put the hood on, I'm going to have to do a lot of adjustments. I'll put it together with nuts and bolts for now. And when it comes time to verify, okay, I like the hinge where it's to, I'll leave it bolted to this, and then I'll weld the nuts on the back side so I'll know exactly where it's got to be. But what I got to do here now is I got to build a plating system in here. I'm thinking about coming down here, going over here, but back here now, I can't go going back past this scratch here, because this is where that brace is to it. I don't think that is going to fit above it. It's going to raise everything up, and I don't want it to do that. But right here, I wanted to take in these 3 bolt holes here. So I'm going to go from here all the way up to here somewhere, I'd say, and just build a plating system that'll go down here and turn over here. I'll probably put a bit of lip on the edge of it down here, and also down here, and possibly right here, just to give it strength, and just let this go straight back here. The lip I'm talking about right here, you can see there's a bit of a lip here, but I think I want to continue on that down across there, and just have that plating system in down here, because it's got to be plug welded on the outside, and then plug welded on this panel here. I'm not going to drill, I'll drill the holes that I have there now in the side of it for now, but what I'll end up doing is I'll leave it alone that I can actually weld it later, but I'll have this lip far enough ahead. Now, chances are I may have to cut a lot of this off, but I'm not going to worry about it right now, and I'm overthinking it. I just want to get a nice sturdy hinge mount and get it mounted in the panel, so that panel then I can say is pretty well done, other than just figuring out where the hinge got to go. So I found this scrap piece of 16 gauge, and I got to measure it up. I want about 15 inches by about 8 inches. Now this is not new metal. I picked this up a number of years ago. It was just pieces. I've probably got this stuff now. This is exactly what the sheets looks like. They were cut off of sheets, and they had holes in the corner. And they're not exactly square. They're probably 9 inches on one end and 10 inches on the other. But I was given I'd say 25 or 30 of them well over 10 years ago, and I'm still picking through them. So they're all 14 gauge or 18 or 16 gauge. 16 gauge is what it is. So it may look new. That's just the coating is on it, but it's been around a number of years. I throw nothing out, and anytime I come across steel, I hold on to it. I'll always find a use for it, and this is what I got this for. So I got this here now. I'm going to make sure this is a right angle here first, because this goes back, gets wider as it gets to the back, and I want to have it so that I got an edge to start off with to make my bends. I didn't want to say a word. I said I'm going to try that now. This is 16 gauge metal, and we got the V-Vor brake here. They says this only bends like 20 gauge or something like that, and I have to bend. Now this is a short piece, it's 15 inches long, and I just bent up that edge. Look, she was you know, there was I never heard no creaking or cracking or nothing like that on it, but I managed to bend it up with it. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'll make that piece now with that. I got to measure back here now the top. I want to put a lip on the inside edge of it before I put the other bend, so that this here is a box section, has got some strength. These lips are what's going to give this all the strength. When it comes to the metal, the thickness is one thing to give it strength, but if you can get it in a box formation and put edges on it, the strength comes there, right? So I'm going to go ahead now and measure up this distance here and make my second bend. Some measurements. Hopefully I'm doing this right. Because I'm trying to have this a real snug fit. I always tries to bend it on a 90, and I always overdoes it. Always goes too far with it. Let's see if that's going to fit like now. Just snug fit, it'll fit in there. It'll fit in there. I gotta take a bit of an angle off it now. Now I can use the marker off and trim off. I'll leave the side here, but I cut the back off it here. And I'm gonna fold up this lip here on this edge here. Now over here I want the piece of plate to go right on back through here, but I don't want it up here. So I gotta come forward from here, this distance here, which I got marked out here. And I'm gonna cut that off. I don't wanna raise this up any at all in terms of getting the strength from it. No, I'll just make everything, all the holes, everything, throw everything out of whack then. The sides will be fine, just have them mounted on the sides. And then I'll bend the lip here, and then I'll bend the lip down here on this end, and one on this end here, and just leave the rest of it alone. That's all I did. Use hammer and dolly, bent up the lips all the way around, give it strength. This will be the front side, this will be the back. I gotta go over here now and lay this in place, mark the holes for the actual thing and mark the holes for the actual hinges. I might leave them alone, just drill them out after. But these three here, I'm gonna have to drill them out now and then trim off the back side of this to fit the actual panel. Just so there's a better understanding, this will be mounted inside the other panel, but this is the way this will work. This will be mounted here like so, like that, and be bolted on solid. This will be plug welded on the top side and the sides here. This is what your hinge will mount to. So the strain will be on this panel here, which will be back into this panel here. So this here will take the blunt of the hinge opening and closing this way here. Will be back here on these bolts. So I'm gonna go over now and get this prepped and get this installed. So I got all the holes drilled in this for the spot welds, and I went ahead, and the reason why these panels rotted out before is they were all put together, there was no paint on them. So I got some paint put on this one now, and then I painted in here as well, because you won't be able to get in there now later on when this is all put together. And I'm just going to clean up the metal as I'm going. I'm going to use an old drill bit or something to clean it up. I'm going to put this all together here now and get it all welded up. So here's where we're to. Drilled out the spot welds, got them all done, I welded them all up. Come over here and I drilled out the holes for the hinges. I got them done. Then I came over here and I put nuts on these ones here, so I haven't got to worry about that no more. All I do, I think it's a 40/16 nut I have, and I just welded it on the back side here. Usually there's clips and everything on them. This here, if I use too many, I wouldn't dare do this with stainless stuff, because stainless got a tendency to lock up on you. So just regular nuts and whatever like that. So I weld them on there and they should be fine. As long as I don't go taking them on and off and tighten them up too much, they might spin around or strip them out or something like that. I'll cross that bridge when it comes to it. This just makes life a lot easier putting it together. So I got all that done there now. You can see on the inside here now the holes for there and the plating system, how it's all rigged up there. It's welded on. Got everything left alone up here, but then it takes in these three back bolts. I'm going to go ahead now and grind up all the welds, get all that cleaned up, and then we can reinstall this. So I got it fully bolted back on again. And everything's fitting nice. All the bolts lined up good. Everything bolted up. It's nice and solid. Everything's fitting nice. The last thing that's going to have to be done with this now is I'm going to have to trim this for the wheel well. So I got to figure that out here now. I might as well complete everything on this here. All I got to do is bolt the hinge on and move it around a bit and put nuts and bolts in it for now. I'll build a plating system for the back side of that when it comes time to put the hood on. But for now, that's good enough like it is. I just like to be able to put the inner fender wells in place and cut this out so it fits in there right. So, yeah, I got to figure that out next. Leave it with me. Bolt it on, take it off. Bolt it on, take it off. Bolt it on, take it off. That's what this whole thing is always about. You could try to bolt things together once and it's a nightmare. So, you know, this is what you're up against. I figure it's a lot easier to get the fender out of the way because I know I got to mount to this brace here now and the fender got nothing to do with it. So I can work easier here now. I can mount the inner fender well in place. I can figure out where it's going to go up here and bolt it on. And then I can come back here and put the button in here because there's a bracket here for it to mount to. And then I'll get centered all up and then I'll just start trimming and fitting and trimming and fitting and trimming and fitting. That's all I'm going to keep doing there. Yeah. I have the inner fender well put where I figures it should be. I got the button put in the back in the factory location. Up here I just played around. I went out on the other car and sized up where the inner fender well was in relation to this bolt here in terms of distance and how far up and down it was. I have it a little tiny bit lower than what it used to be. Just trying to get a handle on this because I'm here now and I got it marked. I'm just going to start creeping up on this and trimming it because something tells me I'm going to be right up into this, right up into that bolt hole. Yeah, may have lower the back too. Everything mounts to this is like it's on wires and stuff like that, so it's easy if I raise and lower this. I just want to make sure it doesn't interfere with the tires. A small bit, like if I can lower it an inch, that'd be perfect. I can probably do that. So maybe I'll do that first. Lower it down an inch. And that way then I can chase after everything else. It's not the easiest thing to try to figure out and do. This is right alive. It's got it all pushed down on me again there now. Over there I got a bit of a gap there. I think I'm content with that. I got a bolt put in it back there, so that is there. And this is how high up I am. I'm going to take it all out the front here now. And hopefully I can get away with it. I'm going to take a bit more out the front here. And hopefully I can push it up, because right now it's got the whole inner fender well pushed down a bit, but I think it's still got to come up a bit. So I'm just going to keep trimming and fitting and trimming and fitting. That's it, till I gets it. You trim and you fit, 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 you trim a bit more, you trim a bit more, and that's what it's all about. You trim and you fit, you trim and you fit, you trim and you fit, you trim a little more, you trim a little more. I'm telling you. And then you make it fit. Drum roll, please. There you have it. What a fun project. Ha 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 ha. Not. As you can tell, I was doing a lot of trimming there, figuring things out. I had to lower the wheel well down. I raised it back up again, and then I lowered it back down. I had to lower the entire wheel well down 1 inch. I had to make sure there was no clearance issues or nothing like that. I got my doubts the tire will ever hit it, just 1 inch. It would never hit it, you know, before. Control arm issues and stuff like that, all that seems fine. Just nothing interfering with anything. Everything that lays up on this here is flexible. The computer lays back here and the earbox lays up here, so it can be, you know, it can drop down 1 inch if it has to. But yeah, you can see the way I got it all trimmed up here, a little notch in it, going back through. Got a little bit wild back here because it didn't work out like I did. There's a bit of a gap back here. But this hinge, boy, oh boy. I was worried about that. Just look, wait. I actually had to trim the wheel tub and let this fall down through. There's how close it is on the bottom bolt to get this to work. But when you close it, it doesn't interfere. Down here, you can see where I notched it out. And you can see the way the wheel well fits in here. Up along here. I got to make little spots down for that to mount to. So it'll mount up in here. I got to pull it a bit tight. Run a little bracket in through here, straight across. And probably another one here. Probably put one here. And then one back there. Right? But yeah, I'm going to mount the inner fender well. I'm just going to drill holes in this here in the rad support and mount that right directly to the rad support there. I have the original bracket on the back mounted there. So, there's it. I was concerned about them. I wasn't sure what was going on because where I channel this truck another, I say close on 2 inches more than what most people do. I figured I was going to look. I figured I was going to lose this here. You can imagine this was another inch higher, and like that bolt hole there. If I had to raise up the wheel well another inch, you can see how much of that there I would have had to cut off it. Would have had to cut the entire lower bolt right off it. But I got it, and through MacGyver and a few things. But I'm pleased with it now. I'm happy with that. That's another major project undertaking done. I did a lot of work on this one. I can guarantee you that. Making that panel there, and putting all the reinforcement and everything, figuring it all out, bending it all up. I got to make another one. Yeah, but I'm pleased with that. Very pleased with that panel there. I'm pleased with how the inner fender wells mounts in it. So all I got to do is mount some mounting points on that now, and that is done. I'm trying to complete everything. I keep saying leave it alone till later because even the hinge bolts, I got nuts and bolts put in here now. I think on this front one here, I'm going to make a plating system. So there's 2 bolts nuts welded together so I can fit it in there. And if I have to move it around, it'll go with it. So instead of having to do 2, and in the back one will be the same way. Once I get them positioned where I think it's good, I'll weld the bolts on. So it's just a matter of getting from the outside here. I'm not fussy on nut and bolt and everything. And again, you can't get it. You haven't got no access to it down here because the inner fender well now comes out to here. And you can't reach it from inside here because them bolts are on the other side of this here. But the wheel well right here comes up like basically right this. Goes along there like that. So, yeah. But I think I'm going to finish that off first. Yeah. Let's finish off that wheel top. Or that. Make the brackets, have it all and bolt all that whole side together, and have it done. That sounds like a plan. So here's what I got done here now. I got the panels taken off again, and I made up these little brackets. This is what I got made up here. Nothing fancy. Just bent it up the width of this here, and I just bent it over, and I put a couple of plug wells over here and a couple of plug wells over here. This is what the inner fender well now is going to mount to. I'll drill a 1/8 hole through this now, and I think I'm going to put it on with a button is what I'm going to do. Just a plastic button that'll pop through it. And this one here will go back here on the back side. This is just behind the hinge. The hinge mount bolts are right here. So this will mount here. And what I got done is I got them lowered a little tiny bit. This section is lower than this section here, so it'll pull tight against this here. And I'll do the same thing with this one back here. Get that welded in. Here's all I went and did. You can see I got a hole here, and I got a hole put here. I had to notch this out because this was interfering with this plating system. But what I did is I put it place bolted up, and I drilled a 1/8 hole up through it. If you can see right here, I made 3 attempts of it because I didn't like where the locations were going. This one was too close to the edge. But that's not the one I was concerned about, was these ones here. So once I got these figured out up here, I drilled them out up here a certain size. I wanted them so that these would fit. These things here. That'll go in there now, and I'll just push that button in there, and that'll hold that in place. So that'll come up through there, like so, and then push that thing, and that'll hold that wheel well in place. On both sides there and there, on 2 of them. So that'll be the 2 upper mounting points for that. I'm going to bolt that all together now. And here it is all back together again. You can see right there, see the fuzzy nail there. And then you come back here, you can see the other fuzzy nail there. Little black dot you're seeing there. I could probably, they're pretty solid there now. Down here, I've been playing around with a few things. I figured down here I might need one screw or something. There was never ever anything in it, but I figured now it might rattle, so I might just drill a hole down here into the frame and just put a bolt in it or something. Or another fuzzy nail. That's probably what I end up doing with that. But I also drilled it out here. You can see out through there. Got 2 holes drilled there, and they're bolted on this way here. So that's how the front is held on. So it's 2 bolts here. Fuzzy nail here, fuzzy nail here, fuzzy nail down there. And that's the way most of them are put in cars anyway. Usually, a lot of times, they're usually put in with clips. There's very few bolts, nuts and bolts. Usually up front here, there's a few nuts and bolts, but the back of it was always done that way. But yeah, there you go. One inner fender well, one new apron. The hinge is all freed up. I got that set in its lowest position there now. So it can be adjusted up from there. I still got to make a bracket and plating system for that. But I'm not too concerned about that right now. All I'm concerned about is I got that made and mounted, and I got an inner fender well put in it. I've been out taking measurements off the other Crown Vic here. The air box is not an issue. On the outside of the air box on the Crown Vic, there was a windshield wash bottle that went right here. Now, I don't know if I can incorporate something in there better, but it's going to be pretty tight on the box, so I may have to figure out another location for the windshield wash bottle. It's not that important that I got to have it. The computer is back here and mounts here on an angle, and I've measured from here on the master cylinder out to the end of the computer, and the computer is basically right here. But the problem I got is the spring goes along here too, so I may have an issue here with the clearances on the spring. But now I do have this at the lowest, in the lowest position there right now, and it may clear it if you raise it up, right? So that shouldn't be a problem. If anything, I'll just move it this way. I got about over an inch right here on the computer that I can just slide it out a small bit. I figured I'm going to have to maneuver stuff around anyway. But the computer goes here, and then the air box goes right here for the intake. And so that's pretty well it. I can put all that stock stuff back on it again. Yep. But that was a big undertaking. We got the rad support figured out. Just got to do the bottom side of it. That's another day. But all the mounting points, everything's cleaned up. All the rust has been repaired on it and removed and recalibrated. And the whole thing has been sandblasted. Yeah, right on. I went and remade this one here, and I got the inner fender well in. It's been a lot of work. I'm very pleased with it. I got everything done on it now. I know the process now of building this here and putting the inner fender well in it, and the hinge issues, all that. I'm familiar with it now, how I'm going to mount it all. So when I go to do the other side, I can get it done. I'm willing to say I'm just going to tear right on through that. So when I comes back in the next video, that'll be done. Because it's just more of the same of this. And the fun was making the first one. And I think just doing the whole second one again, the fun part what it is I got to go out and cut the door skin off the other cop car in order to get it, because I run out of metal. I got no large sheets left. This is all I got left now this is what I got left from the other Crown Vic. That, and there's a little piece of metal over here. I've been meaning to cut them off. There's a piece there and a piece there off the hood. So that's it. But I use the driver's side panel for here. So I'm going to cut the door skin. I'm just going to leave door on the car and all. I'm not going to bother with nothing. I'm just going to cut the door skin right off the car, right where it's to. And make up the one for this side here. I'm going to take the passenger side one because of the door handle and the way this tapers down. But anyway, there you have it. A lot of work on this one here. A lot of things figured out. That there inner fender well was a major dilemma, and I got it figured out along with that there. So anyway, this is where we're going to leave this one. I hope the tips were good, and until next time.